When I think of her today, I'm simply in awe of her, in awe of the life she's led and in the way in which she's handled it, with grace, dignity, elegance, and humor. I've never ever heard her say a bad word about anyone, never heard her indulge in rumor or gossip, never heard her complain. I look at her today at 100 years of age and wonder how she did it all. She smiles, reaches for my hand, and tells me to follow my heart. Ask God for his help, then sit back and enjoy the adventure. That is, after all, exactly what she did.
You know, you think of the history that Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy has seen. 100 years. She saw the great railroad stretch across the country. She saw the history of air travel and space flight. She saw her son stand as president at the Berlin Wall and then watch that wall come down, and through it all kept a steady course. We're going back now to Hyannis Port and two generations of Kennedy women, Maria Shriver and her mother, Eunice Kennedy Shriver. Good morning, Mrs. Shriver.
Good morning.
To many Americans, your mother was an icon. What was she like as a mother to you and your brothers and sisters?
Oh, well, she was a marvelous mother and a marvelous woman. We had all a great life together. We lived down here in Cape Cod. We played competitive games. We traveled. We did all sorts of things that were absolutely wonderful. And she was an extraordinarily inventive, creative woman. You know, she came up, people think of her in a rather, I think, somewhat restricted way, but when you think about it, she was politically active with her father when she was only 20 years of age. She went to England as an ambassadress, and she did a wonderful job there. She was the best campaigner in the family. It was her idea to have these teas all over the country. When Senator Lodge was beaten, he said it was those damn teas that beat me. And that was Mother's idea. She campaigned for her three sons, and so she was, then at 80, she wrote a book, which became a bestseller. She read in the paper one day the head of Ethiopia, the Emperor of Ethiopia, was having a birthday, 80 years old, the same as she. She wrote him a note to congratulate. He invited her over there. She packed up a bag in 3 days and went to Ethiopia. She was in Russia in the 30s, and nobody thought Russia was important. She sent my brothers to England to be educated because she felt, and my father, that socialism was going to be in the wave of the future in Europe. So those were all her creative and independent ideas, and I think that's the way we ought to think about my mother, as well as a great woman and, as I say, a great mother.
Mrs. Shriver, what lessons was she able to pass on to you that you in turn passed on to your children?
Well, I think family loyalty was a great virtue in her eyes, and I hope my children will be loyal to each other. And of course, there are 30 cousins down here. Together, if they work, they can accomplish wonderful things for this country, I think. My father always said, I don't really care whether how they feel about other people, but they must stay together. And I think that's something that we've all enjoyed and we've all benefited from. After all, it's a family, the Kennedy family, that people think about as, and rather than individuals. I think that's terribly important. I think religious faith is very important too. Of course, that was an essential element in my mother's life. A great curiosity. She was interested in so many things, I think, as Maria says, and in the small things of life she was interested in. I mean, she would ask you, she's very curious about your education. Why did you fail Latin? And you had to go to summer school if you did. I won't say who did that. If somebody wasn't well, she was very strict about their diet.
Maria. One thing, Katie, that you asked what Mommy perhaps had learned from Grandma, and one thing, when you would come to this house and have your meals in here, first of all, you have to be on time, but something that Grandma did that Mommy also does, and I know my Uncle Teddy and everybody else does it, they quiz you at the dining room table. What did you read in the paper? What did the priest say in the sermon at Mass? And something that my grandmother would always say in here, she'd ask you about your grammar. Do you say was or were? Do you say she or her? And she'd also quiz you on multiplication tables. You'd sit at this table and she'd go, okay, Maria, what's 2 times 10 divided by 3 squared by 4 plus 15 divided by 10?
And the answer?
I have no idea. She knew the answer all the time.
Maria,
I never did.
This is exhausting.
As you can imagine, not everybody was like running over here.